Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairman, for the opportunity to speak a few words at this historic occasion, where this House commemorates the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. It's indeed a historic occasion for neighboring Sri Lanka to recognize who Mahatma Gandhi was, his legacy, the impact, the imprint he left in the world, and how much of that came to the benefit of our own country. And I thank the Honourable Speaker and the party leaders for having decided to use this session today in memory of Mahatma Gandhi. We had His Excellency the President, Honourable the Prime Minister, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, all party leaders and seniors make speeches remembering Mahatma Gandhi. Mohanlal Karamchand Gandhi was educated in the UK as a barrister, practiced his profession in South Africa, where seeing the oppression that the non-whites were subjected to, became an activist and became conscious of the role that he could play in transforming society. In many of our visits to South Africa, we have been told time and again by our friends there, who proudly say this to anyone. They say to the Indians, "You sent us M.K. Gandhi, we sent back Mahatma Gandhi to you." For they recognize that it was in South Africa, in the context of the oppression that the people of South Africa were subjected to, that Mahatma Gandhi truly became conscious of his own obligations in leading a freedom struggle. He chose nonviolence, and I think that is the one word that can describe this great soul. It was nonviolence, he was nonviolent, and it was he singularly who demonstrated to the world forever that nonviolence was a weapon that was far more lethal and stronger than violence itself. That is the impact that Mahatma Gandhi made. That's a legacy he has left behind. So in all our contexts today, when we remember him, it is impossible to remember him without the phrase nonviolence. That is what described him more than anything else. And that then has relevance to us today. We heard the leader of the opposition earlier this afternoon reminiscing on his and his colleagues' role in the 1977 Parliament. And in a very humble way, voicing his concern, wondering aloud as to whether they made the mistake in 77 of not embarking on a non-violent ahimsa, satyagraha struggle to win the rights of the Tamil people. He wondered if he and his leaders then had done that, whether they could have averted the Tamil youth taking to arms. It's not just asking that question in a rhetorical form. I was deeply touched by that gesture of a humble reminiscence. His Excellency the President also referred to the many examples that Mahatma has left behind and reminded us of a fact that we all know, a fact that we have all seen, that he has the picture of Mahatma Gandhi in his residence. The first time I visited His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena's residence, that was something that struck me, that Mahatma Gandhi's picture was on the wall. It is that kind of influence that this great soul has imparted. For us today in this country, as we remember Mahatma Gandhi, we cannot but escape. Look at our own selves, look at our own country. Look at where we are in reference to non-violence and political freedom. We have been taught non-violence. We saw it from close quarters. And as the Honorable Sumanthiran'd just spoke, we even had the Mahatma come to our shores, to Jaffna. We saw him in flesh. And yet, we don't seem to have fully appreciated the hard, non-violent stand that he took in pursuing political freedom for his own people. I don't say this in a way that points fingers at anybody else. But in retrospect, in looking back at our own selves, as to whether we should have strictly adhered to the path of non-violence enunciated by Mahatma Gandhi. As was mentioned by Honorable Senadiraja, there are many instances when he stopped his struggle of a program that he had initiated when violence broke out. He did not ever want violence to mar his pure struggle based on non-violence. Even if he was not responsible for it, even if others had moved on to violent activities, he stopped the struggle. Not only that, when violence broke out between communities in India, between his own people, every time that happened, he went on a fast. He punished himself when his own people fought against each other, when they used violence against each other. And in most instances, I think in all instances, it paid dividends. They stopped the violence. Particularly during the most difficult period India has gone through during the partition of India. He traveled thousands of miles, had to go and undertake a fast in Calcutta once, in many other parts, just to stop the violence amongst his own people. So he used that non-violence, he used Satyagraha as a means, as a pure means to achieve something good, something that was just, to free people. It is indeed impossible not to reflect on the fact that some of our own brethren have undertaken a fast as we commemorate Mahatma Gandhi today in this house. Several prisoners detained under the draconian Prevention of Terrorism Act have been fasting demanding justice for themselves for the long years of incarceration that they had been subjected to. Under this oppressive law, which this government has recognized as oppressive, and just earlier this week placed on the order paper a bill which, amongst other things, is to repeal the Prevention of Terrorism Act and to remove the most obnoxious of provisions in the Prevention of Terrorism Act, and that of the admissibility of confessions. In most of the cases under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, the only evidence is a supposed confession made by the accused person to a police officer. Today, as we commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, as we remember the stand that he took, the means that he used of Satyagraha, and as the two leaders of this government have spoken volumes today of the life of Mahatma Gandhi, it is our appeal to the government to turn their faces and look at these persons who are fasting for several days now, asking only for justice to be done in their case. So as I wind up, I leave this thought with the government. I'm glad that at least one cabinet minister is present, and I believe he will take the message, that of a cry of people who have been denied justice, who at the end of their who have come to the end of their tether, have resorted to the very weapon that Mahatma Gandhi used. And at least on this day, when we remember and speak of that great soul, I appeal to the government to release those persons. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Chairman.
நன்றி